welcome to another episode of StichMethod on the Road. Today we're going to be talking about how to turn your pentatonics into this like poppy, not rock pop, but like popping type stalling sound before you get back into pentatonic playing. You'll see what I mean in a couple minutes. But the idea is we are going to take a pentatonic, look at it differently, and show you that when you're soloing, you can kind of like pull back the throttle and keep the color and then hit the throttle again with your pentatonics. So with that being said, make sure you share, you subscribe, and thanks for being here. We'll get right down to it. This lesson was brought to you by one of my students, Jason. We were talking about one of our favorite guitar players who, if you know StichMethod, you know who I'm talking about, and something that he was doing, and so we sat and listened, and I said, oh, this is what he's doing. And I said, of course, like why have I not really like taught this or emphasized this? And so I'm going to bring it to the masses. So the idea is when we're playing with pentatonics, pentatonics have a very certain identifiable sound. Sorry about that. I have a backing track that's the G7 to C9, and let's see how it goes just to hear it. Okay. Great. And a normal pentatonic, when you play through it, is going to sound pentatonic-y. You can hear it. I mean, when you play for a long time, you can really hear the pentatonic. So check this out. You'll hear these like... And so the idea here is you're using the pentatonic... you're using the pentatonic to try and travel through, right, to certain notes to stall on or to emphasize. And that's the sound of like pentatonic playing. Now, when you listen to what we're about to do, you can hear it sounds a little bit different. There's something tastier in the phrasing. So let me try and do it here and see if you can hear the difference first, okay? Like... So you can see maybe there's a little bit more poppiness there, some notes that kind of come out of nowhere. And so the idea is, what are we doing here? What's the difference? And the difference is one is pentatonics and one is minor seventh chord tones. Now I do have a video where I talk about hidden minor sevenths inside of pentatonics, and we'll get to it in a second, but I want you to hear the juxtaposition so you can hear that they actually are different. Check us out. Here's the pentatonic playing. Sorry. Now here's that minor seventh stuff. Here it's a little bit more poppy. Other notes are coming in that we're not traveling through with our pentatonic. So let me show you this stuff. All right. So I'm here in a G minor pentatonic. We're going to call this the A minor shape or a form 4. Again, video linked right there if you want to understand what I'm talking about. All right, it's going to be 10, 12, sorry, 10, 13, 10, 13, 10, 12, 10, 12, 11, 13, 10, 13. Let me do it one more time, okay? 10, 13, 10, 13, 10, 12, 10, 12, 11, 13, 10, 13. And so you can play anything you want in this pentatonic on top of this jam, G minor pentatonic. All is good, right? And what happens when you're thinking pentatonically, you're kind of stringing the notes together, kind of like tracks on a train. And you kind of like, play a note, then you head towards another note, and you use this path. And so we're always kind of like moving through this kind of path. Another way is to see the minor seventh chord in here. Okay, so a pentatonic or a minor pentatonic is a 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7. And the 1, the flat 3, the 5, and the flat 7 make up a minor seventh chord. So if you can locate your ones, your flat 3s, your 5s, and your flat 7s, there you have your minor seventh arpeggio. But now also that 4 is something that we want to consider when thinking about this, even though it's not a chord tone, because it's not a chord tone, and hence we can bend and play with it. So these lines of is really a minor 7th arpeggio where the 4th is being either bent up to a flat 5 or 5 itself, or it's being pre-bent and come back down into the 4, into the arpeggio. And when you think about playing like this, we don't have this kind of like train track kind of path. It becomes a poppiness, like and you really kind of like see the arpeggios, the 1, the flat 3, the 5, the flat 7, the 1, the flat 3, the 5, the flat 7, and you kind of play jumping around. Sorry. And the idea is you can add this to your playing before you get into your pentatonics or after you get into pentatonics, where you kind of want to like sit and jam. So listen to this. I'm gonna start off with these minor 7th arpeggios. And again, I want to stress the idea. I'm not thinking about traveling through the pentatonic. I'm thinking about like really seeing that arpeggio and kind of hitting the notes as I think about them and moving them around. So let's see if we can kind of like emulate that. I'm going to start off with that, okay? So you can hear, again, like I'm really like, thinking about it, it's a different type of playing than the pentatonics, even though it's pentatonic based. You're playing your chord tones, you're playing your 1, your 1s, your flat 3s, your 5s, your flat 7s, and when you come to a 4, you're bending it, you're getting it to like move. It's the shaky part of the bridge. And so when you're jamming, and you want to kind of like lean back and just kind of like groove, you can use this before you get into your pentatonic playing. So let's see one more time if I can play with these popping kind of chord tones first and then get into pentatonic playing. And if you can hear the difference between kind of hopping around and getting into these chord tones versus getting on the train and getting, into the pentatonic pathway and kind of like emphasizing notes as you go through the scale. Let's see if we can do this. Mess up. Pentatonic. Okay, so you can hear that one is kind of like stalling and the other one is moving. And the stall, I really do appreciate it. You're kind of like, it's the quiet before the storm. So hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. If you want to practice this, just find a jam and use any minor pentatonic you want and see if you can, in fact, hit those chord tones, those minor 7th chord tones, and kind of stall before you start soloing, or you solo then stall out and solo again. And the idea is if you hit a 4, you can always bend it and kind of like incorporate into the poppiness, and then you can take off again. If you want to practice these ideas everywhere on the Guitar Neck, you can come join me on Patreon. And with that being said, thank you so much for being here. A very quick lesson: turn your pentatonics into popping chord tones and give people a little bit of a different approach. And I think they'll appreciate it, because my favorite guitar player does it. Rock and roll. Bye-bye.